opportunity to stand in your midst just to make this presentation about a matter that is so close in my heart and on my tongue. And I'll be presenting on ethical and creative leadership, which is key for sustainable development, sustainable peace, and climate change mitigation. Now, in the conferences where I have made presentations, I have been given a maximum of 12.5 minutes. And when I was making this presentation, I had factored that. So you can be sure I might take a shorter time than you expect. And therefore, I will urge you to pay a closer attention to what I'm about to deliver to you today. And I'll begin by reading this quote from UNEP, that's Environmental Cooperation for Peace Building 2016, from the final report, which said that while natural resources are key assets to achieve sustainable development, they are also increasingly acting as drivers of fragility, conflict, and violence. Many countries are therefore seeking international assistance to adopt forward-looking and innovative policies and safeguards to protect and manage their resource endowments. So, my name is Robert Meyer. I'm an alumnus of the University of Nairobi. I graduated in 2017, having taken a course in education. But education is so wide. I'm trained, partly the professional training I got while I was studying education was to become a teacher of mathematics and geography. But from there, I also got my career, which was environment. So I studied environmental studies when I was taking my geography courses. And I'm delighted to share with you that my passion was sparked, or it caught fire, while I was doing my environmental studies. And when I sat down in retrospect, I realized that I have been a passionate environmentalist ever since I was young. Only I did not have guidance, neither did I have someone who would hold my hand to guide me and tell me, yeah, this thing is a career on its own. I found my own way. Sometimes I preach, but before I preach environment. So I almost said, praise God. Yeah, so what do? I am a regular teacher. I teach geography and environmental studies, but also I am a practicing environmental educator and trainer and climate change activist. In 2017, I founded my own CBO. It has that simple name, as you can see, Our Environment. And I'm glad that Madam Patricia is here, and I love what she's doing at NEMA in the department, which I love so much, in the public, in the environmental education and public awareness. I love and I appreciate what she's doing. So I'm based in Kikuyu. I am part of Team Environment Kenya. I met my EBO director in 2018. Also, I'm a friend of Friends of Wandiri. On January, was it February 2nd or January 29th?
February 29th to 2nd.
Exactly.
Yes.
We were doing there a run for the wetland. I was there. We did many things. I am part of the Friends of Wandiri organization by extension. And I'm also a partner with any other environmental agency. So, before I go into making my presentation, which is on ethical and creative leadership for sustainable development, sustainable peace, and climate change crisis control, which is both mitigation and adaptation strategies, allow me to make these general comments. And I'm speaking this from the depth of my heart. that as I stand here, I sympathize so much with more than 4.1 million Kenyans who are at the verge of starving, but even relief food cannot reach them due to some reasons that some we know and others we don't. Some could be due to value of profit over the dignity of human life. It is sad that electoral kitties can reach such areas, but relief food can't. It is so sad. So I stand to sympathize with our brothers and sisters in those regions, which we know so very well. I also stand here to sympathize with the victims of evictions who are displaced from their homes, which they have called home ever since they were born, without even being given an alternative home due to many other reasons. It could be negligence or incompetencies, but let me not delve into that. I just sympathize with them. I also sympathize with victims of human-wildlife conflicts due to unsustainable activities that have made parks and reserves uninhabitable through the wildlife. I sympathize with the families of more than 480 South Africans that died in floods in the past 2 months, and we had scores displaced and some injured. I also sympathize with the Indians who are suffering from heat waves on one side and floods on the other side. And I'm not forgetting China and Spain, because they have also been experiencing same effects. So all these, to a large extent, are linked either directly or indirectly to climate change. And they can be proven scientifically. As I sit here, I have read, I have researched, and I'm interested in reading anything environment and what is happening around the world. And I know that climate change crisis is a mega crisis and needs such attention as we paid to COVID-19 pandemic. All right?
Yes.
Do you agree with me? So, as such, it has destabilized sustainable peace and inhibited efforts to sustainable development. As you can see, these three areas that I'm tackling are intertwined. We cannot talk about sustainable development if we don't talk about sustainable peace. And all these are links to climate change, either in its mitigation or adaptability strategies that are implied. So in my introduction, research shows that over the last 6 decades, at least 40% of internal conflicts have had a link to natural resources. Internal, and actually I could add even external, because currently as we talk about climate change, we know that natural resources are at the center stage. The link to natural resources and environment was seen to have substantially increased chances for conflict relapse within the first 5 years of any peace agreement. These renewed cycles of conflict empower spoilers and smugglers, fostering deeper poverty, extremism, and regional destabilization. So a keener look at the above issues shows a direct link to leadership, policy formulation, and policy implementation processes. And that is why I'm going now to delve deeper or to zero in to climate change. So, I do climate change activism, and I do teaching, and I do educational programs and trainings apart from my regular classroom teaching. And I have met several arguments. So some people have argued that climate change is a phenomenon that has been happening since time immemorial. And that is true. Climate has been changing. Times change, so has climate changed. But what these people are failing to understand And this one is based on the IPCC report that was read to us, I think, in the month of March. So we realized that the degree of change in the past 2-3 decades has been at an alarming rate. Yes, climate has been changing, we agree, but the rate of change has been accelerating. And therefore, the effects therein within the past 2 to 3 decades have surpassed by a higher margin the change that was witnessed maybe in the past 1 century preceding this period that we are in. And that is why I will join others and declare, yes, climate change is a crisis. And the degree of change and consequences thereof within these decades is higher compared to that witnessed in the century preceding it. That is, when you read IPCC, IPCC is the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. And this is a body that has been doing research on issues climate. And you will find them in the UNFCCC, United Nations Forum for Climate Change Convention. That is what they have done, and that is what they have revealed. And we just need to understand that climate change has exposed Kenya and the globe at large to a few issues that I'm going to mention. Actually, for information, I'm not going to tell you about the effects of climate change because those ones who are here and those who are following us, I'm sure they are interested in these issues, and so they know. They know the effects. I'm not going to talk about what we can do, but at some point, Dr. Njagi talked and I thought he had picked my presentation because I realized there are so many things he was talking about that are contained in my presentation. But I'll just be smart enough to see that I'll make my presentation not to look like a copycat. All right? So if you see any related issues, just know that all these things are interrelated. It does not matter where you are approaching them from. So we have had forest fires, and Kenya has also experienced forest fires. We have had Tsavo burning. We have had Mount Kenya forest burning. Forest fires. Some of them have been started by human beings. Some of them have not been started by anyone. But because of the atmospheric physics, due to climate change, we have had these fires. The funny thing is that forests are so green, but the rate at which they burn, should they catch fire? I don't know. I don't know what happens to these green organisms that I really love so much. They just burn and burn and burn. In the past, towards the end of last year and early this year, we have had the Brazilian Amazon forest burning for months. Firefighters have fought and fought, but they were actually not able to put out the fire. More than 1 billion organisms were destroyed. Yeah, 1 billion organisms, including wild animals, including the microorganisms, including plants and animals. All these were destroyed. Someone would be wondering, now, if a monkey dies in a forest down there, what does it have to do with me? But we have what we call a balance in the ecosystem. When one factor is touched, another factor is affected. Because we have food chains and food webs that connect all of us, humans to plants, plants to decomposers. Those are the microorganisms. Microorganisms back to the air and into the sea and into the forest and to human beings and into their health. We have experienced heat waves. Recently, in my research and my reading, I realized that at some point, India's surface temperatures had reached 60 degrees Celsius. That's about 140 degrees Fahrenheit. I don't know what that means to you. I live in Kikuyu. In Kikuyu, on Tuesday, our temperatures were at 10 degrees Celsius and we were freezing. But now 60 degrees. I remember the last time I was in Mombasa, the highest temperature I experienced was 42. And I was burning inside my skin. So any additional degree of heat is alarming, it's dangerous, deadly. Skin cancer and many other infections as a result of high temperatures have been experienced in India, Spain, China. China just actually, I think it's this week, when they experienced that, they experienced about 62 degrees Celsius. I think it's in the north. And at the same time in the south, they were experiencing floods. And you think these things are normal? They're not normal. Mother Nature has a way of hitting back. And as we are here, I'm speaking to leaders. Leaders are not just the political leaders who are now in choppers around Kenya seeking for votes. You are a leader and I am a leader, and I'm going to address the need for ethical leadership, ethical and creative leadership. Because when we talk about ethics, this is a leader that values human life for what it is. Divine, sacred, and it must be respected. Whether you are leading yourself, what I call self-leadership, or you are leading a company, or you are leading a religious organization, or you are in a political office, in whatever leadership position or capacity you are relevant, and you are the rightful person whom I'm addressing today. Floods due to the rise in sea level. We have had South Africans die recently. More than 480. 480 was just a statistic that was presented, but we do not know whether we had more other casualties. And it is just sad. Unpredictable rains that have led to food shortage, hence high cost of living. And as much as we are talking about Ukraine-Russia battles, our own lands have not been capacitated enough to produce food that can feed all of us. And that is a crisis on its own. And so when you talk about sustainable development, we must talk about sustainable peace. Without peace, there is no development. And without sustainable development, there is no sustainable peace. And should we want to mitigate or adapt to climate change and the issues that it has brought, then all these intertwined issues must be addressed. We have had millions of tons of plastics in oceans and other water bodies. We have had ocean turtles dying. And the researchers who've been there, the marine ecologists, they have discovered that the turtles that have died, they have a lot of plastic. They have consumed a lot of plastic. Where are those plastics coming from? They're coming from this convention. They're coming from the roads. I've seen people drive and they just roll down their windows and they throw up plastic bottles without really considering where they're going to fall or where they're going to land. They have found their way into the rivers and the rivers into the oceans. And in a few years to come, if we do not control these, we are going to have the number of plastics in the oceans exceeding the number of fish and marine or aquatic organisms. And this is a reason to cause alarm. We must be alarmed. I stand here, I'm a worried man. I look at the future and then it frightens me. Though I've not been, I was telling my friend Amunga that when I left university, I had all those hopes that the moment I clear, because of the things I'm doing, I'm going to work with the UN, I'm going to work with the NEMA, I'm going to work with the... Think of all those crazy things. I thought about them. Because at the university, I started a movement, a serious movement. Conservation, seriously. We made a report, we called the administration, and for once, the administration did not consider bureaucracy. They acted on them the following day. The principal did not wait for the Senate to approve the budget. Because of the survey we had conducted, they realized we were losing more than 1 million liters of water in a week. From the research, just a survey we conducted. And this report or these findings could be extended to other institutions, and you can see the amount of loss we are undergoing. So, the following have been impediments. These are few reflections I've thought as I've interacted with the people and as I've talked. I thought I would be a big person by now in the environmental sector.
You're already big.
Thank you, sir. Blood and flesh did not reveal that. Yeah. So, what was my motivation to get there? It's because I thought if I got there, I would get things running. Yeah, those who are there, they're really doing a good job, and yeah, that's good, but I thought I would join them. So that from there, we could look at things downwards, and we can pull things up and pull strings and see things working. But what happened? I left campus and I met life.
Reality go ground.
The first few events I organized, I was telling him I had to buy seedlings myself. And remember, I had not even graduated. I have no job, but I had to buy trees, seedlings. Unfortunately, because I was just new in it's called the outside world, I had to sponsor the guys who came to help me plant trees. I paid for their fare because the only people I knew were guys from the university. I sponsored them. And then I had to buy them snacks and provide water. And once they were done, they needed to go back. And I looked at that and I said, foolish man, you don't know what you're doing. So I met life and it taught me many things. I had to sit down. I thought maybe that passion was just a stupid passion that will wear out with time. I shelved my passion for about 3 years because I was trying to find myself. And when I found myself, I realized I didn't need to work to be an employee of NEMA. I realized I didn't need to be an employee of UNEP.
To make a difference.
I realized I didn't need to be any big person because unfortunately I'm very short. And a few things that have been said about me. 2. 1, I have never gone up. They have never seen me grow tall because all who have seen me in this stature. And they have never seen me grow wide. So I'm usually very small, and so I've learned to appreciate that even where I am in my small stature, in my small environment, I can actually bring a change. And so when I realized that that was who I was,
And the theme of the conference.
I just started from where I was.
Amen.
I have not been able to get myself to the mainstream media, but I have social media with me.
Sure.
I've not been able to get to COP conferences, but I have this conference today.
You're right.
I have not made it to be at Gigiri in the panel discussions, but I am here sharing out my heart.
To the whole world.
And I know those who are here and those who are watching, you're getting what I'm going to talk about.
Make a difference conference.
So why do we need ethical leadership? Let's get back to our topic. Why do we need ethical leaders? Just briefly, there was something I needed to mention. I was talking about the impediments, the challenges that we have had that have really pulled down or brought or halted the efforts in sustainable development, sustainable peace, and climate change crisis control. 1, all of us here, when I mention the word corruption, you know what corruption is in all 3D, 3-dimensional geometry. I'm not going to go into details, but I know we know so well that is our biggest problem. Tree planting activities have been turned, now this is what Doctor was talking about, have been turned into a money laundering expeditions. And we have money getting lost in the forests.
Billions.
And every day we are going to plant trees in the same hole that we planted last year.
Need to
And we are fundraising for cash, and money comes, and we go there, and we do massive activities. And we plant trees, massive, and we are on social media everywhere planting trees, and we are hugging trees, and we are doing everything. But when you go there 3 months later, all those holes are empty.
Zero.
For me, I consider that a waste of time and resources. And that is why I agree with Dr. Njagi and other presenters who've been here, and Matthew, that what we need is not actually tree planting, because it is so useless. We need tree growing. Just plant a tree and ensure it grows. I'm going to show you what I'm doing in that area later on as I move towards conclusion. Selfishness. People have just become selfish. They consider themselves more important. Currently, we are having is profits and profit and profit. But for us, we are saying human life, not profit. We need life, and not just human life. We are talking about life and not profit. Because we need to take care of that life of a human being. We need to take care of the life of that animal, of that domestic animal, of that wild animal, of those trees, of those soil microbes. We need to take care of them. The bacteria in the soil are so important. If we do not do that, the planet at some point is going to crash on us. And this has been my main tagline. If we sit down and do nothing, then we are going to collapse and die together as fools. I am not ready to die as a fool. And that is why I'm here today. And I thank God, because it's an opportune moment to ensure that this message gets to the world. And my prayer is that we will all open our hearts, not just to listen with our ears, but listen with our hearts. Because when you listen to the heart, you will hear Mother Nature cry. You will hear and feel her plight. And you'll be worried for your children and your children's children. I have a small daughter. Every time I look at her and look at the future, I become so worried, because I think she might only see a lion in a museum in the future. How about her children? How about her children? False promises and lack of commitment. We will do this. We are going to allocate billions of money. We are going to ensure there is cut down in emissions. We are going to ensure this. We are going to ensure that. We are going to do this. We are going to do that, year in, year out. But what have we done? On the ground, Vitu? The things we discuss, it will be so sad to me that the things we'll agree in this conference, when we come next year, time as this, we are still talking about the same thing, that there is no tangible evidence of what we're talking about. That is sad. There is negligence. We have incompetence. We have people who have forged papers in the universities and have gotten into those offices and are doing nothing because they do not know what to do. And I'm very categorical that I'm not going to mention any names, but the good thing with my presentation is that something we can interact with. I'm not using data apart from Spain and China and India that I mentioned. All the rest I'm talking about, we can identify with here in our country, here in Nairobi. So why do we need ethical leadership? A wise man said that all things rise and fall upon leadership. And leadership in this case is at all levels. We have self-leadership. From self-leadership to the presidency and the global leadership. So we have what we know as POTUS. POTUS is the President of the United States. That's the highest office anyone can want to occupy. We also have world leadership, a global leadership, where we have, how many people know Shepherd One? Shepherd One. We have Air Force One, and we have Shepherd. Those guys who are here are serious environmentalists. They do not know what I'm talking about. So, Shepherd One is the plane through which the Pope travels, or he uses that for his travels. And he is the greatest. Please don't throw stones, but this is what is known, that he is the religious leader who sits on the highest office. All right? Or who occupies the highest office. So you're talking about leadership from where I am myself, leading myself and leading my family, and leading the children I teach into the leadership of the world. Why ethical leadership? Ethical leadership is key to sustainable development, sustainable peace, and climate change crisis control and management in the following ways. Ethical leaders are bold and do not fear to do the right thing. In Kenya today, it is so difficult to find someone doing the right thing, even though they know so well this is the right thing to do. But because we want to fit in a status quo, we want to be like others, peer pressure, it is so hard. Like finding, well, those of us who are here are good. They are good, so good, you are good. So I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about those other Kenyans. Doing the right thing has become so difficult. It's more difficult than finding a job in Nairobi. Ethical leaders, they abhor and detest corruption. They are men and women of integrity. Ethical leaders value human life and will not trade it for anything. Ethical leaders, because they hold ethics, they uphold our cultural values and virtues, such as truthfulness and honesty, that have been passed to us from past generations, irrespective of the religious organization we belong to. Unfortunately, we are becoming westernized, where everything is liberal. That I can tell you anything, and if you say a thing, I take you to court. I can do anything because I am a liberal person. I am a free being. I'm free to do anything that I want. But I want to appreciate our rich African culture, because it taught us ethics. It taught us respect for human life. It taught us respect for everyone. It taught us that human life was sacred, God-given, and must be respected. So, I'm headed towards conclusion. So should we find ethical leaders and creative leaders? What are we going to expect? Or what should we expect from them? This is the rightful time, because in a month's time, we will all be somewhere, queuing for long hours, choosing someone to represent you in a political office. How I pray that we will be those guys who will stand and choose leaders. Leaders who are not just conscious about themselves and what they want and their interests, but leaders who will have interest of human life, interest of wildlife, and interest of saying that our planet is habitable. Because as we continue, IPCC report revealed that we only have this decade to make amends, or else we are going to get to an irreversible state where things will be bad and they are bad and there's nothing we can do about it. So there is need to develop. There's need to put in place and to support ethical and creative leadership for sustainable peace and climate change mitigation and adaptability. This kind of leadership is vital in enhancing peace while promoting climate change solutions in the following ways. One, which is very important, and that is what I have taken upon myself to do in the space that I find myself in. Creation of awareness. I am that person who believes not unless you understand why. Even if you do it, you're doing it just for other reasons. I believe in making someone see why. Currently, yes, I have had tree planting activities, but I have really slowed them down. Because before I take people out to plant trees, I want them to understand why they're planting that tree. So people will learn the concept of climate change. Climate change is everywhere in the air. Some people, they hear of it and they're like, and what the hell is that? What are they talking about? People don't know about climate change. And I've taken upon myself to teach. I'm a teacher, so I am applying my teaching skills, my classroom control skills, to ensure that my students, they do not leave that class before they understand. And even here, if there is anybody who has got any doubts about what I'm going to talk about, we will ask questions. And the questions I'm not able to answer, I'm glad because Madam Patricia is here. I'm glad because Prof is here. I'm glad because all of us, we are here. Douglas is here. And all of us, we hold our hands together. We will be able to understand this thing. And whatever we do, we'll do out. We'll do it from the heart. Creation of awareness. I started a YouTube channel. For some time, I was posting videos and explaining all these concepts, and I would only get 1 view or 2 views. But I told myself I'm not interested in having a huge following. But I know that the content I'm posting there, one day, anybody who needs it will find it. I have not stopped. For months and months, I was posting my lessons and everything about climate change on Twitter without a single like. Without a single like. No one. But I was surprised because as I continued, I have found traction time and time again. I have not reached there yet. But I was surprised one day when I posted a very important message on climate change, and I found more than 1,000 retweets. I found more than 1,200 likes. I'm like, wow, I have hit a jackpot. On my YouTube, I'm called Robert Mayer, and actually Robert Mayer is everywhere. I have made sure that my social media handle looks the same, so that if you find me on any social media handle, if you find me on Facebook, the person you'll find is Robert Mayer, an environmental educator and trainer, climate change action mobilizer and writer, because I write. What I read, I write. If you go to my Twitter handle, you'll find the same person. Nilikataa kutumia zile majina za, he calls me Favored, that's my name, that's my other name. So those ones who we are not connected, you'll see that somewhere, Favored. But my name is Robert Mayer. And I have ensured that I limit all my social media engagements onto this topic, because I will make noise until I'm heard. So if no one hears me, I'll continue to make noise. I will shout. I'll stand at the rooftop as I'm doing today. I will talk. I'll talk until I'm heard. So even if people don't hear me today, they will hear me at some point. And that is my commitment. That is my commitment. I work with schools. I teach children. I teach high school students these concepts. I know in their geography course, it has been given one topic in Form 4. One topic is called Environmental Conservation and Management. It is actually less than 12 pages. But when you look at the syllabus, pages are more than 300. But climate, environmental conservation, whatever, has less than 12 pages. I have decided that I will go there. I will work with the environment clubs. I will train them there. Those that do not have environment clubs, I will start for them. And I am hoping that I'll bring them to the limelight so that they will meet other environmentalists to engage. I'm going to talk to my director and all those who are here to help me see how we can organize a debate, so that we are not going to have debate on politics and whatever alone. We are also going to have debates and meaningful discussions on this subject, which if we ignore, the good thing is that God is not going to allow us to die now. We are going to live to see it. And if we do not listen and take action, someone will say there was a short man somewhere who sat and talked, and unfortunately, we dilly-dallied as we always do. We say we are going to fund environmental conservation activities, and that remains going. We are going. So when they say we are going, it's like they have already done it. So next year again, we are going. The next year, the following year, we are going. And we are continuing to go until we get to 2032. And things are out of our hands. And the planet is crumbling. And we all want to go to Mars. Because we have some people who have visited Mars and they are thinking of relocating. Unfortunately, not all of us can make it relocate because we do not have the expertise to create the rockets that will take us there. So most of us will just remain here. And I am an afraid man when I think about that. Ethical leaders, one, they're going to create awareness. They're going to teach. My students, I teach them the why. Until they understand why, then we will go out there and plant trees. Because when we plant trees, everyone has got their tree. Their name inscribed on the tree that they got. They plant. So while they are in that school for the 4 years, I love Form 1s. Because Form 1s have got at least like 4 years. I teach them when they plant that tree, they will take care of it until when it can really manage itself. And before we go out there to do cleanup, doctor was talking about a cleanup, river cleanups. Yes, we have done that, but I have told my organizers it's not sustainable. Because I have been frustrated in many times after you clean, even before you leave the spot. It is made dirtier than you found it. And there's not somebody there. Something is just coming down upstream. You clean the river, and when you think you can now wash your hands, a sewage system is released, fresh. And you're like, oh my gosh. So am I going to stay here to keep on cleaning this section? Awareness is going to help us to get to the source. In waste management, I really emphasize on dealing with waste at the source. If we find that apartment that is releasing raw sewage in the rivers, we need to address it there. If I don't address it there and go at the river, what am I doing? I'm becoming a casual laborer with no pay. I have gone out there, I have done cleanups. But one thing I've been telling people is that as you can see here, I am not, mimi si mtu wa kanjo. Na mimi si mfungwa, mwenye nimefungwa nje, nikaambiwa nifanye nini? Nisafishe mji. I am here. My cleanup is a demonstration of what we need to do. So I train you and I tell you why, and then we clean. Or I clean after you love the clean environment. Now I tell you, do you know the reason I cleaned? Do you like this? Yes, so we need to do this and do this. That is where I thrive. That is why I am an environmental educator and trainer. I train children in schools and I train corporate world. Bado sijafika ile wakati wa kuwa invited in corporate, serious corporate meetings, but there is one that I am presenting in today. And this is here. Sure. Get that? Hatua ni moja, baada ya nyingine, and we will get there. I don't know if I'm taking too much time, but now I'm going to rush a little bit. So creation of awareness is key. And it's not just creation of awareness. It's not just, I have realized as I've interacted even with the professors, on my social media links, I've had many people telling me many things about many things that I'm talking about. That's an iteration. I've met many people talking to me about many things, telling me many things about the many things that I talk about. That is an iteration in poetry. But I realize that many people, this information, even whatever I'm presenting here, is just on the mind. And when it is in the mind, you can choose to push it into the subconscious mind, or you can choose to forget. But I'm praying that whoever I talk to will open their hearts and listen with their hearts. When they listen with their hearts and feel it, they can be able to act. And not just for formality, but because they know the consequences if they do not act. Number 2, an ethical and creative leadership will propagate and promote ethics, ethos, codes and values acceptable in the society. And I'm saying that the society today is devoid of ethically fit people. Integrity and honesty are now among very rare components. I have had many people, you call them and they are in such a conference, then they tell them, I'm on the road coming. Is that being honest? I'm on the road. You're seated here, but you're on the road already. I've voted matachos with some guys, and someone is going to work and they are late and they are called, where are you? Tuko naye hapa Waiyaki Way, but anasema ako Nyayo because they're working along Mombasa Road. And it has become a normal practice. There is no ethics. Respect for human life is no longer there. So this is a challenge and clarion call to Kenyan people and people in the world who are going to listen to this voice to arise and stand to be counted in the fight against corruption and negative ethnicity. Creativity will develop new models and structures and strategies for proper, sustainable development. Because when we do not have ethically right people, they are going to use old and archaic strategies that did not work in the past, yet they want them to work in the present in this fast changing society. Ethical and creative leadership will demand informed political pronouncements. I'll not just wake up one day because, well, I've not seen myself being in a political space, but I'll not just stand one day and say, now, today, this and that will happen, without really consulting with the people on the ground. Today, what saddens my heart is the people who have contributed the least to the happening crisis, paying the largest or the biggest price. People in the marginalized world, they have done very little to the emissions of carbon and greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. We do not have an industry there. We have very few, apart from the industry where they prepare their own food. No, there's an industry, the kitchen industry. But where we have had massive carbon and greenhouse gases, they are stable, they have everything, they have taken care of everything with them. But now those who are not able are suffering the most. So ethical and creative leadership will ensure all sectors of environment and peace play their roles smoothly with commitment and dedication, carrying out their responsibility harmoniously as governed by the law. Those people who have been following the happenings in the country, we all know this phrase. The law is very clear. Sorry, the law is very clear. The law is clear. And these guys are standing on opposing sides, but all of them are quoting, the law is very clear. So the law is very clear on what I'm doing here, but the law is also very clear on what I am opposing what you're doing, but the law is very clear. And now we stand there and we're like, okay, so what is the law? So we need harmonious activities in all the developmental projects. I like it because I've been seeing all the time when there is a structure that must be erected somewhere. I have seen NEMA posting, asking for feedback, asking for your comments on how this structure or this project is going to impact the environment. But also we have had houses that have been built and collapsed. Is it not true? We have had riparian land being occupied, isn't it? We have seen public land being occupied. We have seen all those things happening, but the law is still, can you join me? The law is still
very clear.
In conclusion, climate change control is both an individual and collective responsibility. Everybody must work from where they are. And that's why I decided to work from where I am. To use the available resources that I can afford before I can be afforded. Maybe that one is imekupita kidogo, but don't worry. Climate change control is both an individual and collective responsibility, but where I stand, individuals and local communities can do just so little at this level. That's why we need leaders to rise in those various positions and to do it. We need men and women who will stand their ground and intervene with the implementation of already so good policies. We have so many good policies in Kenya. We have so many good policies. How many people agree with me that we have so many good policies? We have had very many good boardroom meetings, which have come up with very good recommendations, which have come up with so good, everything good. But we need people who will stand and see that they are implemented. I, therefore, appeal to our leaders and you, leader who is here in your respective capacity, to open your heart and listen to the cries of Mother Nature. I was sad. I was very sad. Now, this one I didn't witness with my own eyes, but from another environmentalist who saw people had traveled for more than 19 kilometers in search of water. A mother and her 3 children. And they get to the source and they find the river dried up. And they were crying profusely because they do not have water. I felt so sad. Of that boy who was going to fetch water with a donkey, and the donkey dies before they get to the water source. They're walking distances. We are happy. For us, on a touch of a button, there is water. But how about those people who are out there? We need men and women who will stand their ground and intervene with the implementation of already so good policies. We are tired of being in the boardroom. I'm sure after this conference, we are not going to sit and wait for another conference, but we are going to plunge into action. Out there, we are going to do something significant. When we meet again, everybody will say, I have done this, I have done this, I have done this. And that is the progressive community that we want. I therefore appeal to all of you. Listen to the cries. Listen to the cry of Mother Nature. Listen to her plight and act speedily. We only have this decade to control climate change crisis before it leaps into an irreversible state. Remember, we only have one planet. We only have Earth. We only have one Earth. We don't have planet B. We don't have planet C. We have this one. And it is within our reach today to do something and correct the mess that we are about to get into. So by so doing, national conversation and exchange of lessons on environmental peace building in Kenya and the religion will be fostered. The conversation with an aim of improving protection of natural resources and environment. Listen with your heart and get into action. Don't allow yourself to sit there and do nothing. I am afraid. Nowadays, I'm afraid. Every time I think, no, I love the environment, and we have so many people who love the environment. But my love and passion have been surpassed by a fear so huge that I can't sit down and do nothing. That's why I will use whatever I have, use the means that I have to ensure that I do something for Mother Nature. Because if I don't do it, then there is no one else who will do it. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon?
Yes, good afternoon.
What time is it?
2:30.
2:30. Okay, good afternoon.
40 minutes.
Okay. All right, good afternoon. Well, ahead of the first...
Be seated.
Yes, be seated. Yes, thank you. So ahead of the first September 11 anniversary, I rang the bell for the start of business at the New York Stock. Jenny, alongside the brother of the pilot of the second plane that crashed at the World Trade Center, firefighters, family members, and friends of the September 11 families. This journey took me 500 kilometers to cover a distance of, this journey took me 3 days to cover a distance of 500 kilometers. And this was the first time riding blind. Coming from New York, World Trade Center through Manhattan, the Brooklyn Bridge, crossing New Jersey, the Delaware, through Baltimore, Maryland, all the way to the Pentagon in Washington, D.C. And when I arrived in Washington at the Pentagon, my hands were sore, my legs were numb, and my bottom almost felt like ripping apart. It was literally bleeding. And after this ride, I never imagined I will ever be on a bicycle again. I thought I was done because it was painful. But this served as the beginning of my adventure cycling journey. August 7th, 1998 marked the turning point in my life when I was involved in this heinous and barbaric act of cowardice. It was a bright Friday morning and I was on my way to work on that Friday. And as I came down the Haile Selassie Avenue, the traffic was moving at a snail's pace. And as I came towards the ex-telecoms, I saw this truck that took a turn and went towards the American Embassy gates. Then I witnessed an altercation between the occupants of the truck and security personnel from the embassy. Then I heard what I thought were gunshots being thrown at the embassy, but this turned out to be hand grenades. Then I saw a man run from the scene of the shooting with a walkie-talkie on his right hand. And as he came towards the roundabout, that is the Haile Selassie Avenue roundabout, that's when the huge blast went. And from that day, I have never witnessed or seen light of day again. I was blind. I became blind. I was rescued from the scene of the shooting and taken to Kenyatta National Hospital, where both Kenyan doctors and German surgeons who have flown in tried their very best to save my sight, but without success. 2 months later, I was discharged from the hospital. And the doctor in charge told me, Douglas, you know what? After 6 months, you'll be able to gain back your sight. And I've been waiting for this miracle to happen for the last 24 years. The most beautiful thing to ever have happened to us, mankind, is creation. Creation of the universe by God the Almighty Father. And when God created the universe and all the angelic beings up in the heavens, on Mother Earth, God created the rivers, lakes, seas, and oceans, as well as mountains, rocks, and precious stones. In the fish, dolphins, he created sharks, whales, crocodiles, and hippos he created, and many other creatures in our deeps. He also created mountains on the land, rocks and precious stones on the land, as well as plants, herbs, trees, crops, and shrubs. Thereafter, he did create animals, big lions, elephants, buffaloes, rhinos, leopards, the big five, as well as other animals in our conservancies, national parks, and game parks. Giraffes, antelopes, hyenas, all these that God created were good, very good. And after all these, he did create man Adam. And after creating Adam, he put him in the Garden of Eden, a wonderful garden with the trees, wonderful fruits, and in the Garden of Eden there were two wonderful rivers, the Tigris and the Euphrates. And Adam loved nature. When God realized that he was so lonely, he broke one of his ribs and created a woman instead. And every cool of the evening, God came to watch over his creation. That's Adam and Eve. They enjoyed being together and they enjoyed nature. But down the line, man started disturbing nature. Nature felt disturbed and nature has been angry. So today we are talking about effects of climate change on people living with disability. When nature became disturbed, that's when you see global warming, intense heat waves, as my friend said. Complete terrible weather conditions, pollution, be it air pollution and water pollution. All these activities that you hear about and have witnessed are a cause of distress and havoc to the world. Global warming has caused a lot of mess, be it the floods that you have witnessed, be it in Kenya, Africa, and many parts of the world. The hurricane, be it the Hurricane Katrina and the many hurricanes. I remember when I was in the US in 2003, there was the Hurricane Katrina, and I was almost at the eye of it. The whole place was devastated. But by the amazing grace, I survived in Richmond, Virginia. There have been wildfires here in Kenya and many parts of the world because of global warming, heat waves. And these fires have caused a lot of devastations. 2 years ago, in Australia, the whole country was in dire challenges. In California, the fires also cause a lot of devastation. I had my friend who was living in the forest in California. He was evacuated 3 times by helicopter from San Francisco because of the fires. He had to move and relocate to Tennessee, where he's now based in the desert. These are bad devastations. And this friend of mine is blind. So you can imagine being evacuated by helicopter almost 3 times in that state. So these effects of climate change are a huge hindrance to people living with disability. Because when there is hurricane, these, my friends, get displaced. They bear the brunt of these conditions. You can imagine if there are floods. Even looking just down in Kibera slums, when there are floods, they hugely affect people living with disability. When there are fires, they hugely affect people living with disability. And as a result of this global warming and air pollution and water pollution, there are also other medical complications that arise as a result of this. Heart conditions, diabetes as a result of kidney conditions, allergies, malaria, pneumonia, all these are challenges that we face, and they cause a lot of more harm to people living with disability. Look, for example, at someone who is an albino. He must use sunscreens when there is when he's in the sun, the heat. So the effects of global warming, air pollution, really seriously affects people living with disability. And you'd find these are people who suffer the most because of poverty. People who are living with disability are poor, and they suffer from poverty. So you can imagine now, with these conditions, it gets a huge toll on them. Their whole health conditions, are highly, highly affected. Look at food security, the nutrition. Because if there is a lot of heat, you wouldn't expect to get good harvests. So there is that problem of food security. Even today in Nairobi here, we've not had rain for the last couple of months. And we're really getting affected. We've been concerned that this year the food production in Kenya would be very low. And this is because of global warming. Global warming. What have I done as Douglas to mitigate this? As I shared with you in the beginning, my first time cycling blind was from New York Ground Zero all the way to the Pentagon. And when I arrived in Washington, D.C., as I said, I was devastated. I never imagined I would ride on a bicycle again. But that served as the beginning of my adventure cycling journey. In 2007, I embarked on these huge bike rides from Cairo all the way to Cape Town. And this took me 95 days to cover a distance of 12,000 kilometers, crossing through 10 African countries. That is from the pyramids of Giza in Egypt, crossing Aswani High Dam and Lake Nasser to Wad Halfa in the Sudan, crossing the Nubian Desert all the way to Khartoum, like almost 1,200 kilometers. Then from Khartoum, coming all the way to the Ethiopia-Sudan border in Matema, coming through the Bahadas and the Gondas, those wonderful sites that you hear about in Ethiopia, to Addis, coming through Moyale. And by that time, there were no roads from Moyale to Isiolo. That road was called Meltdown Madness, just crossing through lots of rocks and heat, intense heat, from Moyale through Sololo to Marsabit, through the Chilbi Desert. Then to Nairobi, Namanga, Arusha, Dodoma, going through Iringa, Mbeya, then going in through Malawi, around Lake Malawi to Lilongwe, then to Lusaka, Zambia, then crossing the Zambezi River to Botswana, then Namibia, crossing the Akavango Delta in the Kalahari Desert, the Wind of Hope, then through all the way to Cape Town in South Africa. Besides this, I also have climbed Mount Kilimanjaro in 2005 to Uhuru Peak. And as I was climbing Mount Kilimanjaro, when I reached the top of the mountain, I was able to witness what climate change has done to the mountain. The mountain that had ice caps is completely now without ice. And that is because of climate change. After doing all these things, I felt, what is it that I can do myself? Yes, I've used bicycles and promoted bicycles as a means of transport, which I always advocate for us to use, because that will help minimize the force of global emissions. So, what is it else that I have done in my journey of life to help mitigate climate change? I have been in the forefront as someone living with disability in growing trees. And this I've done with Team Environment Kenya. I've done this with Team Environment Kenya and also with the Green Blue Africa Foundation and other key players who are involved in the area environment. And when I began planting trees or growing trees when I was still very young, in fact, if you came to my home in the village, I have like 4 acres of a forest. My forest in the village, the only forest, natural forest in the village, because all the other parts of the village have been cleared. This year alone, I did plant almost 1,500 trees within my land. And that to me is my contribution in trying to help mitigate global warming. So my friends, I know we're in this together. What is it that we can do to help in mitigating climate change? I know Team Environment Kenya has done a great job over the years and is still doing it. That's why you're holding this conference today here. And we want many other conservation enthusiasts to join hands with Team Environment Kenya and others like Green Blue Africa Foundation, who are doing a very good job, say, on the Ngong Hills, in growing trees on the Ngong Hills. I do climb Ngong Hills twice every month. Sometimes just go and enjoy the breeze. But now with this new initiative of Green Blue Africa Foundation, I'm so much excited to be part of that journey, growing trees. And I hope that that will just serve as a pilot. And this can be replicated in many other parts of Kenya and the world. Because it's just us who can make a difference. It's us. We must begin with ourselves to make a difference. It must begin with our families. What are you doing yourself with your family? It can be your daughter, it can be your son, it can be your neighbors. What are you doing with those to help mitigate climate change? What are you doing with our communities to mitigate climate change? We must sensitize our population. The way my friend here was saying, creating awareness. I think that's very important. To create awareness within our communities, within our families, within the schools, like the Wildlife Club. That's perfect. That's wonderful. Because if we join hands together and work as a team, we'll be able to make a difference. Because a journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step. And that step must begin with you. What is it that you're doing to impact our government and policymakers to become more proactive in the nice policies that our government has been able to put across? We must be proactive. You, as an environmentalist yourself, take up the challenge of taking up leadership position. We should not just look into electing other leaders into position to make policies for us or to implement the policies for us, but we must endeavor to also ensure that we elect our own, those who are key and involved in climate change mitigation. Because it's only by that will make a difference. I remember my friend Paul Polman, the global CEO of Unilever, whom we climbed Mount Kilimanjaro in 2005 and started a foundation called Kilimanjaro Blind Trust Africa. Paul went on to be one of those experts that were appointed by Ban Ki-moon to serve in the UN panel of experts that made the SDGs. Paul eventually served as the global CEO of Unilever and the president of the International Chamber of Commerce. Currently, he's serving in the World Economic Forum as the lead or the chairman of climate change. So, when he hears Douglas has been on this kind of forum, I know he'll be very glad to be able to even push that forward in the UN. I remember when we had the UNEP boss here, the one that went on to become the UNDP boss. He was the one who did name one of my athletes when I was serving as the chairman of the Kenya National Paralympic Committee as the UN Person of the Year. And I was very glad to see that I was able to help someone come from the ashes and become the UN Person of the Year 2009. So what is it, my friends, my brothers and sisters, that you are doing to help this our land, to help this our globe, so that we can mitigate the dangers and challenges of climate change? We must rise up to the occasion. We must seize this opportunity to be able to make a difference. let's work to ensure that we can have a better world, a world that's peaceful, a world that we can enjoy the nature, just going out in the forest and having a walk in the cool of the evening and just enjoying it yourself. So let's be more practical than being theoretical. Most of us are very theoretical. We talk, do a lot of conferences and workshops. After that, all that we have done eventually goes to gather dust in the shells. So I want to challenge you here today that these that we are doing, are we going to implement them? This discussion that we are having here, I hope someone's recording, are we going to share them out even to our leadership to see that someone living with disability, blind man, who was affected by the bombing, has risen up and is trying to become an advocate of climate mitigation. So it's a high time that we have to rise to the occasion. Let's seize the moment, because if we don't do it, our children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren will have no place to. They'll have no world. The world will be swept away by the global carbon emissions. So, thank you very much, my brothers and sisters, but let's rise to the occasion and make a difference.
Make it louder.
I start by
Here's your mic.
calling Gadoni. Can you start? Did we know each other?
No.
You called me and I invited you. Yeah?
Yes.
How did you get that?
What?
How did you get my name, my number to call so that you could come?
Okay, I am part, a little bit, okay, well, not fully, but I'm part of Kisumu Environmental Champions, and I am a scout. I do scouting in Kisumu. So inside that platform, yeah, I got the information and then...
Well done,
yeah.
well done, well done, well done, well done. Yeah. I also needed to talk about Douglas. Douglas, we have been with him at the Impala Club for many years. No, not many years, because say like 2-3 years.
Members.
Yeah, I am a member, he is a member, and we shared that steam room. Yeah, so it's good for him to find a way to come here and see what the old person is doing. And I'm grateful that you attended.
Thank you very much.
Guys, thank you very much for all of you to come. Now, I had three presentations. This one is to tell you how these matters started. Yeah. The other one was to tell you vaguely, because not in details, about ecological and ecosystems restoration. That one, many people have talked about. I'm not an authority to that, because you had our professor yesterday. He is an authority. Yeah, but me, I know the whole thing, how it is, and twins. Yeah. So these guys, I'm going to tell you about. They just found me wherever they found me, because I am, I am called upon to be a member in too many organizations globally. So there are people who have even told me that, Mr. Kakunga, get trees, go, grow them wherever you want. We are going to pay the price or the cost. There are also other people, you know them, those who control desert. Yeah, they have told me that they would like to be part and parcel of Mzee Gakuma. There are many in either construction, environment, talk about all this. They are willing to share with me. Now, I am building up groups. I have been attending groups with the groups, those who who matter about collecting rubbish or cleaning and whatever in estates, islands, kwa Michael, Korogocho, Lake Kisama, Mathare. And I'm happy that they happened to come when they heard that Mr. Kunga is organizing a forum like this. So, when these guys approached me, they simply said, Beze invited Mr. Gakunga. Can you be able? You are invited to host Society of Ecological Restoration with Global Ecosystem Restoration, Mad Week, making a difference from 4th to 11th of June 2022. Who am I to refuse to host? There were challenges, many challenges. Financing, because for them, they don't sponsor. They just say locals need to frontier. To frontier doing what? Getting what? How can I do it? Guys, let me tell you. I spent my retirement benefits to host this conference because I did not want to let those guys with the bigger vision about Kenya, about Gakunga, I did not want to let them down. And I did that. Just because of that, I want to show you this, and I also wanted to show you the bigger guys, in United Nations. Douglas has talked about the one administrative is an officer or whatever, because he is not a director. He calls him administrative officer. Yes. In UNDP, we have changed cards with that guy when he was leaving UNEP. Yes. So, these things happen. I wanted you to see them talk about ecosystem, ecological, and the desertification. Guys, go to the website. Find about Kenya desertification. You see people from Turkana suffering, holding their animals like this, and they are dying. I wanted you to see that, but my is bringing some snack. I don't know what. I just wanted to show you the general of United Nations talking about this application. Our director in Germany called Do from Senegal. He is on UNCCD, and other people. They're concerned about this climate change and the effects. You heard me talk yesterday. How can we save these mountains, seas, water, what? Name it. So, let us make a difference. Mad Week Conference 20. It's a 2013. It's a RD, not to 2014 June. That. Can you go on? Mad Week 2020. Make a difference. Yeah, it is mad. If you talk about mad, people will be scared. But it is make a difference. Can you make a difference? Are you ready to make a difference? God only is making a difference by telling us the truth. Because that's words of, it's the truth matter. Yeah? And it is from our heart. Imagine. Yeah? Thank you very much. Yeah, guys, I like talking to you. You know, I've been a lecturer telling my student, vitabu kando, tuzungumze mambo ya maisha. Yeah? And they like it. So, Mad Week 2020, make a difference. Second, Sustainable Development Goals. You see, there they are. Yeah? Second, what is Mad Week? A Mad Week hosted by the Society for Ecological Restoration, CR, is an annual week of global restoration where individuals and organizations from around the world host and participate in the local frontier, that's the one, frontier restoration events. Yeah? Through Mad Week, everyone, everywhere has a chance to positively impact their local communities by engaging in hands-on restoration projects. Interways Research and Development East Africa Trust will be executing the Mad Week events in Kenya in collaboration with CR, the Global Ecosystems, and of course, Team Environment Kenya came on board. I appreciate his contribution, the way he imagined things to happen. Yeah, because he has been in the industry of events and such alike. Therefore, he gave me strength when I was almost down, and he tells me, Mr. Kakunga, this is going to happen. And it is. Thank you very much, man. Apart from him, there are others. There are, the groups, those whom I enjoy coming closer to me. I have said, Madare, Lakisama, Korogosho, and also, Kibera. Yeah, and elsewhere. Because all these people, I need them to work with me. Yeah? And the people like you. I told you, I was at Ondire. Yeah? You are a member of that place. I was there, wanting to know more about it. How can I engage myself to going there? And that's where Kikuyu, Nairobi River starts. Yeah? When I was in council, miaka ya zamani, 68, I was engaged with the rehabilitating Kikuyu Spirit. Yeah? Kikuyu Spirit. I was there. So, I would have liked to follow that river, Nairobi River, up to cleaning it. This green-gray water path to global Indian Ocean can be sorted out by me and you. Yeah, you have said it. and I'm saying it. And we need to team up with our friends, NEMA, and everybody else. We need to see that that liver is sorted out. This guy of UNDP, my friend talks about, he was promoted to become a leader in UNEP just because he had cleaned up their liver in Germany. Yeah? Therefore, you can even start from here. You can become big and tall. Yeah? When people see that you have done ABCD. So, I have said that in collaboration with the SER and Global System plus Team Environment K. Another? Go on. Mad Week is held in conjunction with Only One Earth, World Environment Day 22, UN Environment Program 50 years, 72 to 2022, and the Sweden Sewage. When talking about 50 years, when environment had not grown fast enough, but it was allocated in Gigiri, it had no good road. I was at the gate, if you know that gate going to Gingiri complex, that gate from the petrol station down to to the gate, I was there. Yeah, I was there. There were he was the governor. You know, he was once the head of UNEP. Yes. He could find me there with my people doing some construction work. When he's going in the office and when he's coming out. I have history to tell. So, these people, I don't know why, they tell me to engage to such frontier work or restoration without at least offering something to start off. We call it seed money. Seed money. Why they don't do that? I don't understand. Because these people have some kitty. Yeah? Some kitty. I am going to ask that question when I give them the report we are making.
Sure.
Because this is not a small matter.
Very true.
This report, even a list of attendance,
Yes, we will. We have.
it is going to be a global thing.
You're right.
Yeah? Where you will be seeing Mr. Gakunga, DDABCD in Kenya. Remember, it was host this Mad Week in Kenya. Yeah? And I could not let these guys down because I knew and I believe that it is a door opening for us, for me, you, and everybody, young and old. We can have a lot of things coming up because of this. This is a beginning. It's a door opener. I told you about when I was learning marketing in the UK. That you keep on knocking, you keep on knocking, you keep on knocking, and one time they will open the door and ask, Mr. Gakunga, what do you want? Then the business will start from there. Yeah. So, go further. Okay. Celebration of Mad Week. According to us, we had to celebrate the World Environment Day 2020. The Society of Ecological Restoration 2020. The Global Ecosystem Restoration 2020. The water 22. The water security, a green clear path to global water security and sustainable. Yeah? That's our celebration. But we could not do it. We could not do it when it was required. It was 4th to 11th. Then we extended it to 11 to 12 because of the allocation here. Now we lacked money. That's when this guy came in handy, telling me, Mr. Akunga, can we reduce this, reduce this? It was about 3 million. Imagine, 3 million. And it came down to 285 or something. Because of people wanting to help somebody to succeed. Are you committed to do that? Are you committed to do that? That you make somebody to succeed. Yeah? That's okay. Go ahead. Let's see. Somebody planting your good tree, growing tree. We have been told, Father, targeted audience, target audience, corporate organization, non-government organization, government, universities and colleges, Tibet institutions, high schools, primary schools, slums, individuals, volunteers. There is one guy I could ask Mr. Kevin to tell me whether he knows him. The chairman of Slums Dwellers International, Mr. Muturi. I really wanted him to be here to talk to us about that. Yeah? But I have tried. He is a very traveled person. He goes many places. But he is also very passionate about slum areas. That's why I wanted him to come. There are also people who have given me apologies, and I pass it to you. This is guys from United Nations wastewater initiatives. There was a mishap because I really sent an invitation letter and also program. But they have just called me and said, Mr. We cannot post this. I apologize because possibly it's out of business. Because surely I thought I did.
Yes, you did.
I thought I sent. And there are guys with a lot of information about wastewater. They would have been here to tell us more. So, guys, go ahead. Planned activities. Waste collection in selected slums, areas and rivers. Tree planting and growing. Fruit, shade and bamboo trees. Mad Week exhibition. That's the beat we are in now. So, okay, second. Yeah, ecological restoration. Just see theoretical framework, social system, and the restoration toolbox. You know, see that. Second. Okay. Our approach, waste collection. Those are the areas. I have been there, plus the Matthews project at Ngong Hills, which I would also like to be involved in, because we are saving our mountain. Second, that's the river, where my friend is talking about. Second, we need to clean that. As I had in the morning, where old time we used to scoop the water, wash it, and drink. Yeah? Okay. Our approach, fruit and shade tree planting, stroke growing. There you are. That is fruit and shady tree planting, environmental awareness. Second, you said, you see, you people doing all that? Yeah? Don't mind about the color. Take yourself as one of them. Yeah? Continue. Continue. Okay, our approach, mad differently. Okay? Organize 2-day make a difference conference within Nairobi. Blah, blah. And then that's speakers will be drawn from. And I am happy that you came. Everybody came, and we have shared this, and we are now almost at the end of it. And I am very, very, very grateful. I wish the other presentation could be there, but if they are stuck, it can't open. It can't open. It's a wizard. Sometimes it just forget about it. But it is showing briefly about talking about ecosystem and also the ecosystem and ecological restoration. These guys also talking about the United Nations, what they are doing. And I would have liked very much to hear someone talking about the financing of this, the financing element, because they are organizations. Okay, well, Professor said that we should not rely on the, pesa kutoka abroad. But if that money is there, why not? Why not? So, let me stop there and say jambo and thank you for sharing this concern of ours. I know I am not alone. There are many who have been very passionate about environment, climate change, the effects. Why those old women, they suffer because they even don't know when to plant their crops. Because, time and climate has changed. Rain time has changed. A lot of things have changed, surely. And why is it? So, with that few remarks, I say thank you. And God bless you all.
All of us. I have loved the way in which, without speakers have come from everywhere, and every of their speech, every of their presentation was so similar, so coordinated. You will think that they had exchanged notes, but it just brings out the relevancy of the theme and the reason of our meeting that really has brought us here. So we're going to have Esther as a camera crew, our media personality of the day, NTV team. So you'll have Patricia from NEMA, Douglas and Mr. Gakunga seated. as our VVVIPs. May you okay, just there. Ensure that you all fit. Mike, we are waiting for you, kindly. And the same is being streamed live. The Ministry of Environment, we are grateful. Thank you to Kefri. Thank you to Kenya Forest Service. Thank you to NEMA. Another one?
Let me take you. You guys go inside. Right, smile. Smile.
Say peace.
Just take a minute.
Memories are made of such.
Wonderful. I like the restore at the back there.
Yes.
Wonderful. Thank you.
As we
Chief, you're doing too, Nini.
we are doing a photo Kenyan briefing.